close friend and ally saddened by passing of Grand Chief. Agreement signed for decentralization of powers to provinces. And support for women's soccer hailed.
This is National MTV News with Helen Sayre.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Saturday's news. New Ireland Governor Sir Julius Chan has expressed a deep sadness at the passing of his close friend and ally. Sir Julius sent his condolences to the Somare family in a video sent to MTV. Sir Julius served as the first Deputy Prime Minister in 1975.
Since we started, we're always the best friends. I see his family, he sees my family, and we're still...
Of all his political allies, Sir Julius was perhaps the most prominent in the early days. Back then, he was a 36-year-old businessman who had entered politics and thrust into a leadership role as Deputy Prime Minister to Michael Somare. Just days ago, he had sent his old friend well wishes after hearing that Sir Michael had been put into palliative care. Today, Sir Julius expressed sadness at the passing of his old friend.
We've had very exciting period together since 1968. Of course, at times we shared some very attempts to exchange, but at all times we kept a common denominator to unite Papua New Guinea of so many languages and tribes.
In September last year, Sir Julius sent for Sir Michael to celebrate independence in New Ireland. The endeavour they began together more than 40 years ago was still going to be celebrated despite the travel restriction.
And he was fully recognized for all the things that he had done to bring Papua New Guinea to where we are today. I'm very sad. Our families join with the rest of the people of Papua New Guinea and the world to say how sad we are to lose this great man, but that's the journey we all have to go.
Despite their political differences, the Melanesian and Papua New Guinean willingness to forgive always shone true. The two men showed over 4 decades that political rivalry should never affect personal friendships.
In one sense of bringing this country forward, but in politics, sometimes we're divided in some things and how fast and how far we want to go. But at all relevant times, privately, we are great friends. So I have lost a great friend, and Papua New Guinea has lost a great leader. May his soul rest in peace.
Jack Lepava Jr., National MTV News.
Minister for Justice and member for Medang Brian Kramer has offered his condolences to the Somare family and Lady Veronica on the passing of the late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. Kramer said the people of Medang have deep respect for the late Grand Chief and highly value his contributions as a teacher at Kusbab Primary School and Tusbab High School. Recalling a visit by the Grand Chief to Medang when some students asked about his time when PNG gained independence and his time as a teacher, the Grand Chief responded that he was glad to be alive to see his dream come true. Kramer states it is the dream of a united country with opportunities for all Papua New Guineans. While the National Executive Council has announced the 2 weeks of mourning for late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, Prime Minister James Marape says this is no ordinary time in the country's history. PM Marape says every citizen, tribe, young and old, must show utmost respect to one of the country's founding fathers. In yesterday's announcement, the Prime Minister urged all provinces to adhere and observe the mourning period. He also called for unity and peace in all communities.
This is no ordinary moment. This is possibly the biggest moment in our nation's history in as far as loss is concerned. I appeal to our citizens far and wide, from the special region of Bougainville, right through the western provinces in West Sepik and Fly or Western Province, through the length and breadth of our country, from the youngest to the oldest. Our country is stitched together by few men and few events. At 1975 and events preceding 1975, Somare was in the thick of things, in fact, the leader of every event that took place cascading in independence in 1975. He deserves all our utmost respect, and I thank the nation so far.
The Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare has had a long relationship with Morobe and Morobeans. In the 1950s, he went to school in Dreghaven. When the Grand Chief became a politician, Morobe was still a main point of visit. Longtime friend Sir Bob Sinclair recounted the early days.
When in Lae, the Lae International Hotel was usually a destination for the Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare when he visited Morobe.
Sir Michael and I had...
Yesterday, hotel owner and close friend Sir Bob Sinclair said he would sadly miss him.
A great friend of mine who I followed when he was leader of the Pangu Party. He came to Morobe province many times. I can recall him opening different buildings at the University of Technology back in 1973, 74. He did so much for this country, a lot of people don't realise. He was a great leader, one that always thought for others and not just for himself.
Sir Bob Sinclair first met the Grand Chief during a Pangu Party fundraising dinner in Lae.
At the Melanesian Hotel here in Lae, when he was the leader of the Pangu Party, and that was probably 45 years ago.
Sir Bob Sinclair is a naturalised PNG citizen and is originally from Australia. He has been living in PNG for over 60 years. Sir Bob is a Lae resident and has few businesses including Lae builders and contractors.
I can recall even the day that on independence when he was on the diet with Sir John Guys and a good friend of mine, the late John Haugie, who was a cousin, I think, of Sir Michael's. And this is where I had a lot of time with Sir Michael through the late John Haugie. Fond memories, even as a bookmaker, I can tell you that Sir Michael loved to bet on horses. He was quite a man.
Sir Bob Sinclair recounted the times he and Grand Chief had together and said Sir Michael Somare was a true leader in the history of PNG.
And I'm sure we're all going to suffer because he truly was a leader. And this is what we want in the country at the moment, is true leaders who think for the country and think for the people of the country. So all I can say is I'm very saddened, like all of us. And as they say, when the game's up, we've all got to go. Unfortunately, last night was Sir Michael's last. I can say sorry to the family, my condolences to all the family, friends, and all I'm sure the citizens of Papua New Guinea will always remember Sir Michael as the father of our nation.
Simple man.
Yesterday, Morobe's first district commissioner, Sir Jerry Nalau, paid a personal tribute of his best friend and schoolmate. In his own words, Somare was a very special man, a leader and a friend.
Simple man. Everything is in his palm and give him. Pladi Papua New Guinea young Omasa region or young place Saweman. Only na maso Somare. Na all talk. Give him something go finish na. You go long up long him Morik Lake, long up long Karao village Angarom. You know go plus something. Taistaso. Rabbi Namalu, Chris Iveta, Mikimolgo, Namitok looking, Somare, give him all something. Now talk, why be okay, Mosem? Only got Austambaran. Now, Somare and me, Papa long Austambaran. Time you lead a man to Austambaran, time you cut him abus. Skill him all got I go, now you by last portion of that, you go nothing about house. And this is what they did. Passing to Buna. So, we talk, look, come back on passing to Buna. Name Somare me. This is a type of person. So it's a special band.
Julie Badui Owa, National MTV News, Lay.
You're watching National MTV News. We'll have more of the day's stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Papua New Guinea has recorded 47 new cases of coronavirus disease, increasing the country's total cases to 1,275. The latest cases were reported in West Sepik, West New Britain, East New Britain, Central East Sepik and in the National Capital District. The country's COVID-19 total now stands at 1,275 with 12 known deaths. Meanwhile, pandemic controller David Manning is calling on all residents to come forward for testing. 17 provinces, including the autonomous region of Bougainville, have reported cases. Works Minister Michael Nali and the Deputy Prime Minister Sam Basil signed the performance agreement this week. This is to allow for the decentralization of roadwork responsibility down to the provinces and district levels and will help the Department of Works to concentrate only on the national roads. Cadet journalist reporter Gertrude Gabi with more.
With the performance agreement signed, provinces and districts are given similar functions to the Department of Works in terms of managing their road networks and also the plans and design for their roads. This will allow the transfer of funds to the provincial and district levels for them to take on the responsibility. However, as the implementation agency, the Works Department is concerned that the roads be built to standards.
We signed agreements and those agreements are implemented. At the same time, the funds would be released in 2 batches, and there are some certain conditions that go with that before we release those funds. The idea is that we get value for money so that the roads are built to standards, and at the same time, it's servicing the rural needs that we all wanted to have the road networks connecting to our rural people.
The Works Department also wants to capture road networks, both nationally and provincial, in a decentralized database to keep track of the roads that are being delivered on a national and subnational level.
Ensure that these things are captured so that we have a database to inform the government as and when the data is needed.
The Works Minister Michael Nali said although the responsibilities have been passed down, they will be there to oversee and assist when necessary.
The Department of Works, being the mother and the father of road infrastructure in this country, we will always be there to assist you, build roads to standard.
There is planning underway for the upgrading of roads in the towns and cities as well. Gertrude Gabi, National MTV News.
The 1st Royal Pacific Islands Regiment welcomed and farewelled a new and outgoing commanding officer with a handover takeover ceremony at Tarama Barracks yesterday. Colonel Mark Kellerton served the regime as a commanding officer for a year and will now take on the task as the Director of Land Operations. This sees Heta Nombe as the new commanding officer.
The handover takeover ceremony was hosted with a parade to signify the end of Lieutenant Colonel Mark Kellerton as a commanding officer and the beginning of Lieutenant Heta Nombe.
Commanding officer signifies the change of command.
Outgoing commander expressed his gratitude to the 1st Battalion for a great year of experience as their CO.
I'm so humbled to have been given the opportunity to serve this battalion. It's a place where I started my life. I took command on the 19th of January 2020, and the headquarters intent was that it was time to reconstitute. We were looking forward to it, and then COVID came, and many things changed too. and we did many things. We had to adjust. For 1st Battalion, we're involved in many task operations.
New commanding officer commended the troops for the well-performed parade and said he is humbled and thankful to be the 36th commanding officer of the 1st Battalion.
It is humbling, sir, to be appointed as a commanding officer of a premier institution, one PIR. Challenges are imminent. And sir, with the CDF's statement of intent for 2021 to 2023, sir, we will align the unit to support our director and your brands so that the outcomes are delivered, sir. I will not promise you, but we will strive with the challenges that is imminent.
During his time as the CEO, many challenges were faced and were appropriately handled. Despite COVID-19 pandemic last year, Lieutenant Colonel Kelleton continued to work to keep the COVID-19 ops in NCD and borders.
The number of tasks, resulted in having less people to attend to many tasks. But as a unit, we managed to get ourselves together, and we were able to deliver, whatever task that has been given to us for last year.
Promotion of officers within the regiment was also witnessed during the ceremony. Esther Thailam, National EMTV News.
Laloki Psychiatric Hospital is on the verge of a major revamp as many positive changes come into effect. Hospital CEO Dr. Losovati Dauguna gave an update recently stating that many critical projects are near completion. This includes, among others, the much talked about water project.
It's focal points. And secondly, it is to...
Laloki Psychiatric Hospital is moving forward after many years of being stagnant. Hospital CEO Dr. Losovati Dauguna says there was a lot of instability and confusion. But with the Directorate of Social Change and Mental Health Services endorsement, mental health is getting much awareness.
This is a new reform of mental health. It's basically the reform of mental health. Dr. Ambi and the team have taken this step to make sure and ensure that the level of care for mental health services in Papua New Guinea goes to another level.
Major projects are on the verge of being completed, especially the water project. For over 19 years, the psychiatric hospital was using bore water. The hospital closed in March 2019, and patients were sent home after a report showed that the bore water was contaminated, which led to cases of hepatitis A. After much protest from the hospital staff and those living nearby, the health department gave 1 million kina for Edaranu to connect clean water to the hospital. The water project with Edaranu is in its final stages and nearing completion.
Edaranu water, laying of the external piping under the MOA between the health department and Edaranu, the pipes is now right at the corner. Just the last corner before you see the signpost for Laloki Hospital. So it's right there. By this week or next week, it should reach the gate. It will be at the gate.
The psychiatric hospital has also been able to recruit much-needed staff, and a new ward has been built to cater for the increasing number of patients. Now the focus will be on finalizing standing operations procedures and policies.
For us to base our best practice and how we conduct, our practices and work every day. It will also help in terms of disciplinary, of staff with their ethics.
As a way forward, the psychiatric hospital is looking at boosting up clinical standards and practice, and also doing a major redevelopment so that it can be able to accommodate the growing population of the country. Lilian Sopera Kenea, National EMTV News.
So Brian Bell Foundation, in collaboration with Kumura Foundation, will be launching 10 community health post buildings in the Snow Pass area of Bundi district in the coming weeks. Vincent Kumura says for the first time, the people in Upper Bundi will receive an ambulance and witnessed the opening of the health post buildings. 10 students from Bundi will also undertake a community health worker training this year at Kundiawa and Tombil in Juaka.
The health post will be built in both Upper and Lower Bundi areas of Usino Bundi district, while the 10 students will serve in these health clinics after graduating. The ambulance and the building of the 10 health posts, including the fees for these students, will be funded by the Sir Brian Bell Foundation in partnership with Kumura Foundation, a local community-based organization. 10 major tribes of Bundi, who are the recipients of the community health post, are now preparing to host the program. At least 5,000 people from 15 cultural groups in Bundi are expected to attend this program. Chairman of the Brian Bell Group of Companies will be part of the event. Martha Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Women's National Soccer League has gained much support over the course of the tournament, with the clubs in both conferences working together to ensure the competition runs smoothly. Despite no major sponsor, there has been strong support in kind from B-Mobile and CPL, with governing body FIFA pumping in sound financial backing.
The Women's National Soccer League has been hailed a success by many who support women's football. But the organizers say the biggest credit goes to the cooperation between teams to ensure that the competition has been consistent over the course of the season. Paul Isorua, Competitions Director of Papua New Guinea Football Association, on behalf of PNGFA, thanked all the teams for making the season a success.
It has been a very successful season because of the cooperation. You see, our football competition is not on the field is what you see, but there are a lot of activities that take place behind the scene, and it is only successful when we have the club management of all the teams and the PNG competitions department working very well together. Not only that, the WNSL Standing Committee plus our good president and the secretariat.
President of PNGFA John Capinato is happy with the progress of the competition. He says despite no major sponsor for the competition, there has been support by business houses, with B-Mobile sponsoring awards on match day and sending out SMS blasts to promote matches on game day as well. CPL has also been very supportive, being the supplier of bottled water for match days.
As you know, we did not have a major sponsor for the WNSL commencing last year until now, but we had in terms of kind, we had B-Mobile, who was our communicating partner, probably spent almost about 240,000 in terms of giveaways.
PNG is among 4 countries in the Oceania region that have a consistent women's competition in football. World Governing Body of Football, FIFA, have seen the level of commitment to improve the code for women in PNG and has come on board to fund the progress of the competition.
FIFA has supported almost 500,000 US in supporting the WNSL women. You can ask my General Secretary later on any questions. They've come in because they want to promote women's football. As you know, in the Oceania, there's only 3 countries that are playing national WNSL. Tahiti, Solomon Islands, and PNG, beside New Zealand. So FIFA has come on board through the COVID and through the support. They've seen that Papua New Guinea is very interested and very serious in getting on their women's competition. That's why they've come good to support us.
Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
Tying in sports with education is an objective of Prime Minister James Marape. Using sport as a vehicle to further the education of talented men and women in the country has been largely overlooked. Utilizing either scholarships or education programs available to Papua New Guinean athletes overseas must be a focus for the individuals or the sporting associations.
sports is no longer seen from our government perspective as just a leisure activity. We've deliberately parked sports with the Higher Education Ministry to ensure sports also become a career option for kids who come out of our school system who are born with the natural acumen or propensity towards excelling in sports as a career option. And so in that sort of context, Australia remains to us the easiest and closest market to export our sportsmen and sportswomen, as well as in other areas of work in life beyond high school and the junior education that they would have gained in PNG. So we're now exploring all avenues in which Australia-PNG partnership and relationship can be maturing at the highest level in the context.
And Trukai Sports continues with more stories after the break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Patas Cup heads into the grand final tomorrow with the 19th installment of the tournament coming to an end. For those that followed the competition in the past 19 years, there has been significant improvement. Competition manager Sam Coy says the competition has improved significantly in its long tenure.
We've got rules, regulations, we have policies in place that we've put in. We're doing our best to try to ensure that the teams that participate, the venues that they play with, especially in the finals, are good venues that they when they see the venue, they can actually play with comfort, knowing that we provided the best for them. So 7 years ago, we'd have hiccups, we'd have games, midweek games. We've had postponements. We had no referees. We had teams turning up without, qualifying. We had all these issues. So if you look back, I think for the last 4 years, we've done away with, most of these issues. And I think for the last 2 years, we've actually really picked up and, putting standard to this competition where it's supposed to be. And I think a lot of teams and sponsors, when they do play and when they do lose, I think with the hard work that we put in, they live happily knowing that, we've given them everything that we could give, and it's left to their teams to perform on the field on the day to win.
And that story wraps up Trukai Sports. The weather reports after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
I'll look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Mostly fine weather with cloudy periods in Port Moresby, cloudy periods with a shower or two in Daru and Kerma, and cloudy periods with evening rain shower or two in Alota and Popondita. In the Mamasa region, cloudy with some rain showers in Leh and cloudy with occasional rain showers in Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, cloudy periods with a few showers in Lorengau, Klavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, and cloudy with rain showers and possible thunderstorms in Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, cloudy with evening rain showers and morning fog across all centres. For the next 24 hours, waters of southern PNG-Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru to Kiwa Islands to Kerma, to Yul Island and to Hood Point to Armor Coast to Samari Islands, with waters of Finchafen through Vitiaz and MP Straits to CRC and Long Island, with waters north of Long Island to Medang and Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG-Indonesian border, with waters of West New Britain, seas of 1 to 2 meters. Waters of Samari Island to Cape Vogel and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, and with waters north of Cape Vogel to Huon, Gulf and Finschhafen, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 1.5 to 2 meters. And waters of New Ireland to East New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. A look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Seas moderate to rough with west to northwest winds of 20 to 30 knots with gusts in the Coral Sea. In the Solomon Sea, seas slight to moderate with west to southwest winds of 10 to 20 knots with stronger gusts to 33 knots towards the west. In the Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rough with west to northwest winds of 20 to 30 knots with gusts southward. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with northwest to north winds of 10 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Saturday, 27th of February 2021. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing and bye for now.